Hello and welcome. Today we've got Reece Oswald with us. We're going to be discussing about faith. Now, just before we begin, I would like for everyone to subscribe to my Telegram channel and to also Veniamin.com, which is a new platform that goes live next week. If you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below for the full interview. Reece, how are you? And thank you for coming. Where do we begin?
Doing good. Thanks for having me. Basically, my message today, I want it to be long-lasting, is to keep the faith. If you have faith, hold on to that faith. If you have people come to you and attack that faith, know that you're being measured. Your faith has been measured. There's many scriptures about being true to your word, and whether you say the truth out loud, the truth inside you is known. So, my story is a significant piece of my life. It never affects me. It only has made me stronger now, 9 years on.
So what experiences did you go through that really turned that faith notch to a different, to a higher level, to another level?
Well, I always had faith before this car crash that I was in with my partner, where I was the driver. But since then, since that night, it only has strengthened me. It was 9 years on April 5th.
So let's explain more about the car accident. What happened? How bad was it? Were there any injuries? And if so, what did doctors say? And what happened that made you think, wow, this is a miracle, or this is, we've been protected,
Right. So the car crash was very severe. No other cars involved. No drugs or alcohol, because I was tested by the police, and if I did have any of those things, the charges would have been much more severe. Mm-hmm. The injuries that I received was my dislocated left shoulder went directly out the back, chipped my shoulder blade, and stayed dislocated. Sorry. My partner, she suffered worse injuries from, broken pelvis on both sides, hematoma of the lung, and fractures in her lower vertebrae. And, when the person who took the car away, the crash recovery said, to my father, how bad were the people in the crash? And my father said, people are going to walk away from this. And the guy said, you're kidding me. He'd seen many, many crashes before. What was significant about this, before the crash, I was in the city. It happened early in the morning with no cars around. Is when I was leaving the city, I felt this very evil energy. And so I just got into the back where my Bible was, and I just opened it up to any page, and just felt like having it open, was what I needed to do. And so the last memory I have is moments before the crash. And if you fast forward now to the hospital where we're in the recovery state, and I've got a brace on my arm, and my partner's been told, you have to be 30 degrees on your back for the next week and can't move, terrible, just the worst position you'd ever want someone you love to be in. I felt so terrible that I wanted the ground just to swallow me up. I can't even explain how low I felt. Not selfishly low, just tunnel vision towards my partner's recovery. And there was this guiding reassurance that came over me. Like, it's going to be okay. I haven't brought you this far for nothing. And every time it said nothing, it felt like it was giving me everything back. And it was the strangest feeling because it was just me in this guidance. But I knew in myself my own voice, so I couldn't write it off as simple wishful thinking. I had to just focus on that because everything else around me was becoming numb. My whole focus was to my partner. Everything else, myself, I didn't care about me. It was just her recovery, what she has to do, surgery ahead. At this stage, we don't even know if she can walk again because she's on the bed and she can't move. So finally, after a week, the bone doctor comes, and I'd been doing my routine where I stayed at a motel down the road from the hospital, wake up in the morning, go to the hospital, go through the normal procedures, second floor, ward 7, be there all day, go home to the motel again. And so I'm waiting there with her, anticipating the doctor's answer. And that morning she had more x-rays. And so the doctor comes in, the bone specialist comes in, and he was very, very well dressed, gray suit, white shirt. He had an iPad attached to his hand through like a glove. He was very professional, came in. Hi, how you doing? Yep. Okay. How you feeling? This, that, and the other. And they said, okay, now, unfortunately, we've got some bad news. Your x-rays today have shown that you've got multiple microfractures in your lower vertebrae, and it's going to take at least 2 weeks to heal. So we don't have any go ahead for the surgery as planned. It is unfortunate. We had a very good team of surgeons gathered for this, but we're going to have to see you after the Easter break. And I could feel the energy in the room just drop. We were just so hopeful that something was going to happen, and the whole, I had to turn to my partner, and her face, I knew the look on her face. She was holding it back, and I felt terrible. She says, okay, nurse, I need you to have this, and this type of x-ray done, and get that to me when you can, and are there any questions? And we're like, no. And it's okay, I'll see you in 2 weeks for a review. And we were just like, oh, and my partner put on a brave face all day, trying to hold back the sadness that I could feel. The whole, everything was, yeah, because she was still bed restricted a certain degree. She couldn't move her body, couldn't move her back, couldn't move all of these things. And, again, this feeling of, terrible comes over me. And again, this guiding voice says, I haven't brought you this far for nothing, And I'm just like, yeah, okay, all right, So the end of that day, I went home right at the end, like 9:30, end of visiting hours, went home to the motel. And I was so upset. I mean, I had my own problems and everything, and I'm meant to do all these things, and I just couldn't. I just fell asleep right on the couch inside this motel. Just didn't even make it to my bed. It was actually easier to fall asleep like that because I don't sleep on my back, but with this brace on my arm, it forced me to sleep on my back. So it was very hard to fall asleep. And lying on my back, I thought, this is just too much, So the idea of going through that mentally again with all this weighing on, I just fell asleep. I woke up in the morning, and it's very hard to have a shower when you have one arm braced and, and all the rest of it. So it was just this, okay, I'm going to go back to this same routine. And I had painkillers that I was meant to be taking, but they made me feel really drowsy, and I needed to assist at the hospital, pick up things and move things. And I'd been dropping things and all the rest of it. So I was like, no, I don't deserve any of those things. Like that's what I was thinking to myself.
So before we move forward, I just wanted to clarify a few things. So you were the driver?
Yes.
Yeah, you was the driver. And you obviously when, your girlfriend, was it, or your wife, sorry?
It's my future wife, yeah.
Your future wife, yeah. So she's, sitting in the car with you. So when this accident happened, you had a sense of guilt, of course. Is that what brought you down as well a lot?
It was the active lifestyle that she led before: yoga, gym, any sports, very, very active. Movement was her whole life. And it was taking that away from her, and not knowing the outcome and not knowing what level she could return to, which was the hardest thing for me,
Of course. And of course you was also injured by this accident. So
Yeah.
was she more injured than you in this accident?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Which is strange in itself, because I should have been more injured, in my opinion, but I wasn't. And even holding the steering wheel, nothing.
You feel that you deserve to be injured more because you were the driver responsible for the car accident.
Absolutely. I mean, the last words I said to her, because I said, let's just go home. She said, but our stuff is at the office. So the way it worked, our family office was one road over from the exit for home. And I said, oh yeah, let's get our stuff. And as I turned off the road, the car went to the left sideways, and it was a Holden Statesman. It was a long wheelbase, like a limousine type car. There's a 1.75 tons. So as soon as it was out of control, I knew it was out of control. And I looked at my partner, and she was gripping her knees. And in moments like that, your thoughts aren't fast enough, your words can't matter, but your entire intent in that moment can be captured in one whole essence of an understanding. And it was basically, God, she's just a passenger by mandatory free will. She's the good that needs to go on in this life, not me. Because when I saw her, my mind was like, the best case scenario, she's going to be in a wheelchair. That was what came to mind. And, so the impact was horrific.
So
horrific.
So what's the situation like today with her with her, her health and your health?
I'll finish that in the story. I think it will get in the way of the chronological event order.
Of course.
So, now we go back to the morning of day after finding out the information that multiple microfractures in the lower vertebrae causing the delay of the surgery. These were the things that were on my mind walking to the hospital again. So I go through the hospital doors, use the hand sanitizer, go into the elevator. There's someone else in the elevator with me. It was just this normal day. The only thing today that was different is I hadn't taken my pain medication because I didn't want it. I felt clear in the mind, so clear that I was dwelling on the thought as I was walking there. It was almost like I wanted to walk slower so I didn't have to meet this initial sadness, because I knew I was going to walk into sadness. And so I'm on the elevator, and as I come up to the second floor, this strange wave of, the only way I could explain it is an energy, just strange, embracing warmth. It felt like light hit me. And I was like, whoa, that was weird. And then it hit me again. I was just like, that was weird. And as I got closer and up out of the elevator to walking towards the ward, it felt like this light was going back and forth like a beacon. Like the closer I got, the quicker this wave would hit me. But it was like sunshine and like reassuring calm. That's the only way it still puzzles me, the whole emotion. It was so distant. I was looking kind of around like no one else feels this. And so when I got to the room, I was expecting to find something in the room. And I looked to where my partner's bed was meant to be, and there was nothing there. And the whole room felt cold. Like there was 3 other ladies in there, and all the other room felt cold. But there was just this warmth and this feeling. And now this beacon light feeling was just shine. It's like, just very, very quick now. And as I walked towards it, it engulfed me. And so I'm standing there with nothing around me where the bed's meant to be. Now it feels like I'm just standing under sunlight. I look out the window, it's not even sunny. So I'm very puzzled. And then I look and I see a bag of books on the ground. I look to my right, I see a rosary hanging from the shelves behind where the bed goes. And I see a glow-in-the-dark Jesus statue right in the middle. And I'm thinking, these weren't here yesterday. I'm standing there looking, don't even see my partner being wheeled in on her bed. She comes in and she's like, hey, babe. And she had a smile on her face, which I wasn't expecting. She's like, I had a shower and they washed my hair. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I said, hey, where did all this stuff come from? She's like, oh, babe, there were 3 sisters walking around the ward last night. And they're from the chapel downstairs. And they're from a church called St. Aidan's. I said, oh, that's wonderful. She said, yeah, babe, they did a healing prayer. I was like, a healing prayer? And I'm starting to think, okay, maybe this is what happened. And she's like, after you left, I couldn't hold it in anymore, and I was crying, and I was crying so loud. They heard me crying. They came and they introduced, and they asked me, do I believe in God? Do I have faith? And I told them yes, and they were lovely. You should meet them. I was like, oh, that would be nice. I'd like to meet them. Just kind of talking with her, trying to reassure her, that was a good thing. Not knowing anything, just okay, maybe, And then just as I'm thinking that, when the 2 or more gather in my name, in the midst of them, there I am, came to mind. And I was like, okay, there was 3 of them, so that equals 4. Okay, and I'm just kind of, life and everything I knew about the scriptures and everything were, coming to mind, a time and place type thing. And so I'm talking, and then next minute, we both turn our heads because it's the doctor again, back. He's in the same suit that he was, except this time his shirt's all untucked. He has no iPad on his hand. His hair is all up in the air, all afroed out, like he's been pulling it out. He comes in. He's totally distraught. He's looking left, he's looking right, and he says these exact words. Okay. We don't know why, but all your microfractures have just healed. So we're just going to go ahead with the surgery on Tuesday as planned. I'll see you then. And you can just see how uneasy he is. I mean, he's a specialist bone dog. He's never seen this in his life before, and he leaves. We then get to see the X-rays side by side, and there's one day 4 or 5 microfractures. Next day, nothing at all. So in the space of 18 hours, the thing that was hindering her surgery completely disappeared. She's gone on to have her surgery. She now is stronger than she's ever been. She does the suspension training where she hangs from the roof. She's doing even more difficult yoga. She outlasts people in her class, and she's just, she's a walking miracle in my opinion.
Wow, that's it's definitely a miracle, definitely, and obviously from from the prayer that she was doing, right?
Well, I think it was just the fact that there were 3 very devout sisters that believed that asking for a prayer to heal someone means something.
Mm-hmm.
And someone who has faith was welcoming to it. And I feel that, I think that significance is misunderstood, because just like when you welcome God into your heart, you have to be willing, you have to be inviting. When people talk to me who are non-believers, they ask me, well, I tried to find God, it didn't work out. I say, well, okay, did you have a seat in your soul? And I said, what do you mean? I said, well, when you have a guest over, do you give them a seat? And I said, yeah. I said, do you make them feel welcome? I said, yeah. So are you hurrying them out the door, or do you let them come and go on their terms? Said, yeah, well, that makes sense. I said, well, why not offer the thing that gave you the ability to live the same respect? And I said, I never thought of it like that. I said, well, many miss that. Your free will and your faith in that meeting has to meet God halfway. It can't be like, I believe in you, come see me. That's not, it never works like that. But I also tell people that when you go down the path, you will be tested. Your words will now hold a binding, promise, or your words that you put into motion will actually end up in results. And I feel that the idea of feeling that you're just, tempting fate, or, I want to find out, but not truly seeking, almost waiting for it to come to you. That's, the all-knowing knows this.
So before this experience, what was the status of your health, of your faith?
Very strong.
So
Very
it's always
strong.
been quite strong then.
When I have a different necklace now. I've got a angel wing, and I've got a dragon trying to pick up a sword, but it's not quite making it.
Right.
So in the crash, we both were wearing the same necklace, a beaded necklace. Hers was turquoise, mine was white. There was an angel wing and a medallion that said faith on it. And so we both had those on before then. I mean, before this, I one day I was arguing with my father. He was very drunk, and he just wanted to be part of the fun and all the rest of it. He was becoming violent, And I said, just stay outside, and he swore at me and said, stay out there for a bit. And as I shut the door, I had made sure he wasn't out of the way of the door, making sure he wasn't in the way of the door. And then my hand had slid forward, and as I slammed the door, I actually slammed my thumb completely in between the door. Now, normally, a mechanism like this would chop the thumb right off, but the entire door frame bent and shifted out, which
Wow.
gave enough room for the thumb on my right hand to survive.
So it's painful.
It crushed it very badly, but the mechanism of the door and you need a hammer to bang it back into place. That's how bent it was. So just a thumb versus that metal, I still can't understand it to this day. It should have just chopped it clean off. When I'd shut it and seen what I'd done, I thought my thumb was gone. Like I expected my thumb to just be gone. And
Wow.
luckily it wasn't. But even me being here, talking to you now, might not have been, if my father himself, when he was only like 18 years old, fishing in Australia on the shrimp boats, he punched his hand on the stonefish, which is the most poisonous fish, one of the most poisonous, deadly fish in the world. And a small barb can kill you. The main barb will always kill an adult. And he survived. And so if he didn't survive that, I would never have been. So this constant, events to make me focus on, a life that I can cherish, a life that I should cherish. Yeah, it's a no-brainer to me. I give thanks every day. I mean, what I've gone through now is almost like a default cheat code, because I can go down, but as long as my partner's okay, everything's fine. Everything's fine again. And we're apart right now because her mother passed away in 2016, and so she went home to Mexico. And it's been tough, but we both found your show independently from each other. And the plans have now expanded into not only her coming home to this house, but also to get her father here, and get him set up. And the course of events has shown me that we didn't, even though we were appreciating things, we weren't appreciating the closeness and the togetherness to what we would appreciate it now. They're just doing simple things together, chatting across the table to each other. And so, my message is also to people is, hold on to those relationships. Forget the petty. Forget it all. Talk to people about the situations or the scenarios or the things they say. Don't judge them because you've heard those things before. And communication is the biggest thing that we have. I mean, being sentient beings, we have the ability to correct each other. We have the ability to console each other. We have the ability to teach each other. And so, if anybody's asking if God is out there, if miracles happen, the answer is 100% yes.
Wow.
There's no doubt in my mind.
So how long have you been apart now?
Well, since March 2016.
And is she? When are you going to see her again?
Well, the pandemic has definitely got in the way of travel and what have you. But before, it was just going to be a trip to Mexico, go to Vegas, get married, come home, type, you'll see a bit of Mexico and then come home. And now it's turned into, like I said, getting a father here and, setting him up here and, having our life the way we want it. So, a lot's happened since 2016. I used to work for people, and that made it difficult. But now I have my own business. I do 3D printing. I sell 3D printers and plastic, and I've just learned how to do laser cutting.
Oh, nice. That's beautiful.
So,
nice.
I feel there's a market there. I feel there's a lot of work to do. But no, I think the plan is definitely still on track, despite the pandemic. So
good. That's good. And how is her health today? To be exact,
she's fantastic.
She's completely recovered, back to normal as she was before the accident.
She's fitter than she was. She's stronger than she was. She does anything from kickboxing through to to yoga again. And she recovered so far past the expected outcome of her status, her recovery and her abilities, that they're going to have to rewrite the book on her. Even she's spoken to the nurses and stuff that looked after her. They can't even believe it. They just can't even believe it.
Right. So how about your health? How is your arm? You said that you was injured.
My arm is still, it can still, I guess, fatigue quicker than my right arm. I have to lift my 3D printers and stuff. It's like 60 kgs and things. They 30, 60 kgs all the time. It's you can kind of feel it imbalance, but that's to be expected. And I'm not training anymore. But as far as what it used to be, I mean, even my recovery, they said to me that the thing that hurts the most is a little piece of bone had actually chipped off, and it was actually going around inside my shoulder. And I said, "Oh no!" I said, "So I got an actual literal chip on my shoulder." They say, "Yeah, you do." It fits nicely, and I went for my final checkup, and the guy like freaks out, and he's like, it's healed. I'm like, "What do you mean it's healed?" He says, "Look," and he compares the two, and the chip that used to be on my shoulder blade had actually somehow healed back as well. So that wasn't meant to happen. So this whole thing, when people talk about me having possible PTSD and things, I tell them I never forget it. It actually comes to mind every single day. There's not a day that hasn't passed that I don't remember some aspect of the crash and the sound or what it might be. But it only fortifies me and strengthens me. It kind of feels like if that memory was taken and I couldn't understand why I am the way I am today, with the, but non-believers are my favorite, because I see them just giving me every excuse, and except for the one that it might be them, it's like saying, "Can you lie to yourself?" They say, "No." I say, "Well, if someone knew you more than you knew yourself, could you lie to them?" I say, "No." Well, what are you trying for? You know what I mean? And people don't get it straight away. And I can understand that if there's someone on the corner, since you were born yelling, "The end is nigh," 30 years on, "The end is nigh," it gets repetitive. But there are a lot of people like myself who, can't judge your path, can't say you should be doing this or you should be doing that. I can only share with you my worldview and my point and my reasons for it.
Absolutely.
I'm not forcing someone else to make that decision. I'm not saying you must do this. I'm just saying that there's more to this than, another person's story. A lot of the people I deal with are looking for my way, but then they say in the same breath that they're truly searching. And, I don't feel I don't feel I can give my way, because it's my way, and the only thing you can take from that is that I can't judge your way, and I ask you not to judge my way.
Mhm.
And live and let live, as the saying goes, is a lot harder than people realize. Even just a thought towards, uh, he's this or she's that, that's still getting in the way of them being living free.
Mm-mm.
The only time I feel that I, you know, uh, intervene is when I see hurt and I see oppression, and I say, hey, you shouldn't do that. And this is the reason why you shouldn't do that. How do you consider this? And sometimes people don't even know what they're saying to the extent of what effect it has. And I
Mhm.
feel that this is, I was just kidding. Do they know that? Maybe. Well,
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, we all have our own experiences and our own journeys, and where we go on, we go all, and we all going to the same place, but different
yeah,
the timelines. And like you said, we're all being
absolutely.
tested as well at different times. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but Reece, it's been wonderful having you on and explaining your story. It's very good to share that experience, because you've experienced a miracle, an
I have.
unexplained miracle, which you believe is God, and your faith is stronger. So no, thank you for that. Is there anything that you would else like to say to the listeners?
Yeah. I have a motto, and it served me well, even in times that, you know, get difficult, and where people judge you just based on certain aspects, whether it be your country, your color of skin, your size, your gender, whatever. If you're if you know if you're questioning how much time you should spend on that, using racism for example, I haven't got time for racism. If you're worried about what someone else is doing in their life, judging them, trying to pull them down, you don't have enough focus on your own life. And I think that we could all be calmer, more loving, more understanding, more patient. And I'm not perfect by any means, and I never claim to be. But this world gets colder, we can get warmer. We can be that light while someone goes through darkness. And I hope I reached people today, and I hope your faith is stronger for it. I live the experience and the story every time I go through it, but it's necessary. So thanks for having me.
No, thank you, Reece. Thank you very much for sharing your story, and we'll speak very soon. God bless.
God bless you.